Welcome back to the channel, guys and gals. Yes, a second video in the space of a couple of weeks. Yeah, I am going to try to keep these videos fairly regular within, say, a release of between 1 and 2 weeks, because there's actually quite a lot happening in the world of TEC-1G. We've got talking about memory and the real-time clock card. But underneath it, we have the SD card is going to be, well, it's been released, the kit is released, but the software that makes it work and enables you to save files, etc., is being worked on as we speak. More details to come on that one. And then we have a new keyboard coming out. New keyboard coming out by James Elphick. I'm really excited about that. A full mechanical keyboard rather than the tactile ones. I will do a video about the tactile keyboard as well, and which brings me to, there's two types of videos that I want to be doing in this on this channel. One is going to be the shorter demo videos, and the title of the video should tell you what kind of video it is if you're interested. One will be demo videos where I'm demonstrating a new piece of hardware or a bit of software or a new release of the monitor or something like that. Or there's going to be longer build videos where I actually do the soldering or the assembly of either the TEC-1, and that's obviously I'm not going to do that in one session. I'll break that up into various parts. That'll also help the documentation that's what can I say, unfinished to on the GitHub. So I'll have a video series that kind of adds to that and kind of fleshes that out as well. But yeah, so there's going to be two types, of demo videos and build videos. So if there's any subject that you are particularly keen to see, please leave a comment and let us know, or get in touch with me via Facebook or Tindy or wherever. But today's video is going to be about FRAM and the various types of FRAM. So these FRAMs used to come in 28-pin dips, and you could just throw it in to the socket and away you go. However, even when I found them, and I think I found them on eBay like 3-4 years ago, they were not cheap. So they were pretty pricey, and now they're gone. You can't find them anymore. But what is available, readily available in quantities, and this came in actually just the other couple of days, so you buy them in lots of 10 or wherever many in these kind of blister packs kind of thing. But we don't do solder, we don't do surface mount chips on our TEC-1, so I decided these FRAM was so handy, and you'll see why, but I decided to make a carrier for it. Now, unfortunately, the first version of the PCB, I thought, oh, well, the pin 1 up there, and I'll put TEC-1G on it and tell you what it is, etc. Yeah, no worries, except on the TEC-1, all the chips are kind of pin 1 facing down, and that really annoyed me, having the text upside down. So, I've never made a PCB that I'm happy with in the first go, but so this continues the tradition, and what I will be having on the Tindy store is I'll have these white ones, so nice mat on it, and when you install it, pin 1 is down in the bottom right here, and the text actually looks nice, and I don't bother with the fancy text. It's just the 32k FRAM. I will be releasing the Gerbers for these, so you can make your own if you want to. What you do is actually panelize them. I think it's the wording, paneling, and you get the one Gerber, and you just ask the PCB manufacturer to lay them out, 2 rows. Is that right? 2 rows by 5 columns, and that still comes in pretty cheap actually for a big wad of them like this. So, but yes, that's the one that I'm going to be selling, the white ones on the Tindy store. So anyway, it also has a decoupling capacitor. I can't remember who, but somebody on Facebook said, hey, where's the decoupling capacitor? So, and that can actually, I've got a footprint in there that can actually take in, I don't know what size, but the decoupling a surface mount capacitor or a through hole capacitor. So keep everybody happy. All right, to solder these things, by the way, it's actually not as difficult as I expected. I did have to get a new piece of kit, a new piece of hardware, a device called a heat gun. If you want to see a video of me making these with a heat gun and how it works with the solder paste, etc., leave a comment below, and I'll show that. It won't take very long. That'll actually be probably a shorter build video, but it actually works really well. I thought it was going to be very frustrating. It's not. It actually works pretty well. There will be options for the kits on the Tindy where you could either buy all the parts separately, so you'll be able to buy the PCB, the chip, without it being soldered in place, and the capacitor, and the pins, so you can do it all yourself. There will be a version where it's just that is soldered on, just the RAM, FRAM chip on the carrier, along with the, actually, no, I'll probably provide the through hole version of the capacitor, so you can solder it yourself, and the pins, so you can solder yourself. So I know some people really love soldering. It's their zen space. It certainly is mine. So it makes me feel like I've achieved something. Now, speaking of these pins, if you do make your own or get your own or whatever, don't use these honking square pins like this is a bad example, but an example of that, because if you insert them into these types of IC chips, IC sockets, they actually bend the metal, and the wipers become loose. So don't use these kind of honking square pins. Use these round machined pins that are nice, and you just slot them in there and solder them in, and it'll work beautifully. Here is one that I finished earlier. The plastic's kind of come off there, but that is the ones that I'm going to keep. I only made like 5 of these ones, so don't worry, you won't be getting the ugly mislabeled ones. So you get these nice ones. You might ask, what is FRAM and how is it made, and what is non-volatile RAM specifically? Well, back in the day, you either had to do like a battery. For example, this real-time clock actually has, the chip in here actually has some standard RAM memory in it. Now, you cut the power and it's volatile, meaning that you just lose all the information in there. So to counteract that, you can have a battery. And that basically is what that thing, when we turn the machine off here, the little bit of RAM that's inside here is kept alive and kept in stasis by that battery as such. So that's one way. And this was another way of doing it as well, but it's similar, very similar process to this. These Dallas chips look very good. They came in all kinds of sizes, started from 2K. 32k is the biggest that I've found personally, but I think theirs is larger. But they actually use a very similar technique, very similar process. They've actually got a lithium battery inside there that one charges itself while you have it plugged in and the power is on, but once the power goes off, the lithium battery inside here takes over and keeps the RAM alive. So inside here is just standard SRAM, and the lithium battery keeps it alive. I think the lifespan of this lithium battery is about 8 to 10 years, about the same as any lithium battery. Hello to all the Tesla owners. So the 8 to 10 years, and that's it. It just turns into standard SRAM then. And then lastly, FRAM. FRAM is really cool. The original FRAM, and I'll put up a picture here. The original FRAM actually had little donuts made out of ferrite, or basically some kind of iron ferrite or iron kind of process, iron compound, and had little donuts that wires came through it. And basically, if you wanted to store a 1 in it, it would charge it, and the magnet, the ferrite would become magnetized. And then even when the power came down, the magnetic field that the ferrite would hold that magnetic field. And then when you turn it back on, you can read it, the magnetic charge being it this way or that way, clockwise or anti-clockwise. It was very cool. Unfortunately, that was the original original type of FRAM. I've looked it up today, and the new FRAMs now are rather boring and just typically have just got little squares of ferrite next. It still uses ferrite, but little squares of ferrite next to crossing wires kind of thing. So not as cool as cute little ferrite donuts, but technology, you always moves forward and makes things work. No, I won't say that. All right. Now, what we usually do with our TEC-1s is we load up our software using a serial port, for example. We can obviously load things in via EPROMs as well, but I'm just going to overlay how we load up some software using a serial port. And if you want a longer video on how to use a serial port, let me know. So we load it in, but the problem with it, you need to have it connected to a PC. You need to have a computer with a cable connected to it, kind of thing. And as most people would know, I'm a big proponent of this being standalone, and you can use it by itself, kind of thing. So the really cool thing about the ferrite RAM, the FRAM, is you can load the software via serial, or you can create it on the metal, on the bare metal as such, save it inside the ferrite, and even if the FRAM, and even when you turn it off, it saves it, so you don't lose your data. So let's see how it works. Let's plug it in. So sorry about the upside down text, but what's that? What's that? Sorry about the upside down text, but we'll just plug that in like so, and we'll turn it on. Our favorite music. All right. So what we'll show you is I'm sure you're probably aware of this, but this socket here gives you the full 32k of RAM visible to the system. This next one is also, of course, takes 32k chips, but the socket itself only gives you a window or a page, I think is the official term that we're using, but I'll stick to window. The window that it uses is only a 16k window, so you can think of it as two windows that move, and you pick either one half or the other half of your RAM. So I'll show you if I go to sorry, let's try that again. If I go to 8000, which is where the start of this socket is, if I go to 8000, and there you can see that there's some data in there already, C300, C1. That's actually a copy of the EPROM, believe it or not. But if I go, now, how do you get to the other half of the RAM? You might be asking yourself. So there's only one window. So I've got a 32 meg chip, 32k, not meg, 32k chip, but I'm only seeing 16k. How do I get to the other half? Well, we have built into the TEC-1G a little thing called the expand flag or expand register. And if you hit function E, see that LED that's come up? There's a little label underneath there called the expand label. So when that is on, you're seeing the other half of the FRAM, or the other half of, it doesn't have to be FRAM in here, of course. You can actually, and I've seen a lot of people put in a standard SRAM, 32k SRAM chip in there. But you're only seeing half of the 32k at a time. And function E flips between it. So just watch this, or better still, watch this. Okay, so it's 39 at the moment. If I hit function E, it changes to that, C300, etc. So the data, but the address doesn't change. Notice, so the address is the same. You're just seeing the other half of the RAM that is inside that socket. So what is significant about it is, why would you want that to do? I think it's really important that can happen, because let's say you've written a program down at, I'll show you a new function of the monitor ever since version 1.4 that Brian Chia included. Thank you very much, Brian. We can actually do these quick jumps, which are function 1 takes you to 4,000. I think function 2 defaults to 6,000. There it is there. And function 4 goes to 8,000. Now, how are those settings set? If you hit, let's go to a strange address. Let's say go to, I don't know, 4510. Okay. And let's say that's where you have a a call that you're referencing, and you're jumping between your main program at 4000 and this 4510, and you want to be able to jump to it backwards and forwards quickly. If you just go function 0, and now I can press 1, 2, or 3 to set these quick jump locations. So let's say I want to go between 4000 and 8000 for this demo, but just for the purpose of this demo, I'll put that as position number 2. Hit number 2. Now, if I go to function 1, it goes to 4000. Function 2 goes straight to that 4510, and number 3 goes to 8000. Very cool functionality. Now, you're going to think, though, that if I turn this off, I'm going to lose those settings. And normally you would, but the genius that Brian has made use of this real-time clock here. It's got a few bytes in it. I think 30 or 31, but we're using 1 as a checksum. There's 31 bytes in there, and it's backed up by this RAM. So there's a few things. Let me show you this real-time clock. It's actually pretty cool. So it's been powered off, nothing else there. But now if I go to function 2, it'll still go back to that location rather than defaulting back to 6000. I think that's what the defaults are. So very cool, this real-time clock. Now, what else can it do? If I go to the main menu, there is now a new setting for it. There it is. Settings. Now I can, these key beeps, these couple of settings, the key beep, etc., they are going to be saved in your real-time clock as well. I think version 1.5 coming out soon, TM, will have that ability to save these settings in, in the actual real-time clock if you have one. If you don't, too bad. So you can configure the RTC. That's the new one. So real-time clock, if I click go there, and yes, you can see that it is actually storing the time, and yes, that really is the time of me recording this video. And there's, so you can set that with, let's have a look. I can change the 0, 3, so I can see the 8, that's changing. Oops, I've got to go cycle through, and it's AM and PM. What time was it again? 7? 7. Oh, I messed this up as well. I don't know what the real time is now. Anyway, that's saved in the, and backed up by the battery in the RAM. But there's other things as well. If I click on 8, it actually shows me all the data that's saved in those 30 bytes of RAM. And you might recognize here in the reverse way that Z80s do, there's the 4000, 4000, there's the 4510, and there's the 8000. There's other, and there's quite a few bytes. I think there's about a dozen bytes that is left for you guys to use and do something with. So very cool. I'm very excited about the real-time clock because you know how many times I've been asked, oh, so what does the TEC-1 do? What does that do for you? And I would have loved to have shown a clock, work on it. Now, I don't actually have one that works. I think Craig made a demo that shows a clock, but I want to perfect it, kind of thing. So, but yeah, I wanted the TEC-1 to be a clock so I can have it running all the time up on a wall or something for ages. And finally, we have the ability to show the real time on the 7 segments. So I'm quite excited about that. So that's the real time clock and how it works. Get out of there. So yeah, it saves just a few bytes, 30 bytes. I know it's not much, but it's certainly enough for settings like the key beeps, and there's going to be other settings thrown in there. Like, for example, if I wanted to back up, let's just say this is software that I want to save, I can hit function B, and you might notice here I can go down to, say, from 4000 to 4100. Don't know why I'd want to save it to 4000, so I'll go down to the destination address. I'll type in 8123 and then click go. Now let's have a look at this data, 15 AA 56. So let's go to function 3, and there you go, there's that exact same data. And if I go function E to flip the other half, notice it's that other data, that 3900, 3900. So now, what is important about this window being able to flip between them is, let's say you write a program down at, sorry, not that, down there at 4000, you start running it and you've got data up in 8000, like, I don't know, some graphic data, etc., that is, takes a while to download. Graphics take up a lot of space, as you'll see when with the new 8x8, and you might have it, loaded up in the in the FRAM, or even just standard RAM through serial. Takes a long time, and you have it up there sitting there. But if your program goes rogue and starts, crashing the stack, or starts overwriting, bits of RAM, etc., it can actually wipe anything that's at 8000. So, which would be really annoying. You'd have to reload it, etc. What you can do is make two copies of it, and then using function E, hide one half of it from the operating system, from your monitor, from your code as such. So your program can go rogue right over 8000. You go, no big deal. I'll just, copy it from 8000 down to say 2000, and then copy it back up to the other half of the FRAM. So that's something that is very handy. There is going to be in the future, somebody has spoken about expanding the TEC-1G to more than 64K, as in already we can do with this is extra 32, we can actually go to, what is it, 96K? We can go to 96K. Somebody's talking about going even up to half a megabyte kind of thing, using that 16K window to access your programs in that extra data, etc. If you're interested in seeing how exactly a program would do that kind of shuffling of RAM so that you have access more RAM than is initially available, again, leave a comment or get in touch or put a comment up on Facebook, etc. Okay, so that is the real-time clock, but there is one other way how to use this. You can obviously use it in the expansion socket, but let's have, I'll show you an even cooler way of using the FRAM. You can obviously have two of them, you can have multiples, but you can actually have the FRAM, because it works with the same timing as your standard SRAM. You can actually plug it straight into your main memory, like so. And oh, it remembered the beeps going away. Interesting. So what it can do now is anything that you program in this main memory now, let's just, for example, just put in a couple of 111, 222, 333, 444s. Okay, so we'll get back to the beginning. So there's your code, and you're halfway through, your missus calls you away to dinner, etc. You can actually just turn it off, or move your TEC-1 onto your, in front of your TV, and continue with the key beeps off. She's watching TV. Well, you can flick it back on, and your data is safe and secure, saved in the FRAM as your main RAM. So you don't have to, of course you can, but you don't have to use it as your expand RAM. You can actually use it in your main RAM, and you'll never lose a program ever again. There is one caveat though. It does, Mon 3 does use the fact that it expects to have volatile RAM inside there, because it actually saves some data in the lower end of the RAM, down at less than under 1000. It saves some data in there, and it expects it to disappear. So when you turn it off, it would normally disappear. When you turn it back on, it checks that lower RAM, notices that it doesn't say TEC-1G in it. I can't remember exactly what is stored down there. Notices that it doesn't do it, and then does the beep, 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 kind of sound. It won't do that. It's basically doing what's called a warm reset all the time. If you have this in there, it doesn't do a cold reset. To do a cold reset as if you've powered off with normal memory, you have to hold down the function key, hit and there you get the music and all reloads, etc. But if just powering off and on, you just get the bit. You don't get the music that is part of this channel's intro. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. It probably rambled on a little bit more than I should have. I'm going to try to keep these short demo videos to like 5, maybe 10 minutes maximum. The build videos will take who knows how long. hope you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up. Give me a subscribe if you haven't already. And the next video coming out, I can assure you, is going to knock your socks off. It's going to be the new 8x8, and you're going to love it. So look forward to the next one. Thanks for watching. Thank you, and we'll see you on the forum. And give us looking forward to some programs from people. There are a lot of people building these TEC-1Gs up. What I would love to see, and we'd all love to see, is some actual programs coming out. There's a very easy way to distribute it now on Facebook or even on the GitHub. Anything that's like half cool, we will put it on the GitHub as sample programs. So get your name up in lights, do some coding, and we will. Shout out to Brian. Brian's got a great channel that teaches you how to do coding. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description here as well. And I'll put a link to the Tindy web store as well, that will have these new white versions of the FRAM, along with the real-time clock, the SD card, and everything else on there. So if you're watching this and wanting the kit for the TEC-1G, I do apologize. They do go out of stock. I put kits up there on a weekend, and they're gone by the end of the weekend. So please be patient. It does take a while to get these things together. And but yes, you will get one eventually. Some more coming this weekend. So thanks very much for watching. Take care. See ya.